What is up everyone? My name is Tom and you may recognise me from such videos as a Mac Pro adventure. If you have not seen that video, check it out. It's on the vlog channel and it explains a lot of this. What the hell is that? That is the gigantic monster 30-inch cinema display sat on my desk, and I just cannot get over how beastly it is in both screen size and general beastliness. Check out that on the side, thickness wise. It's just a complete slab of gorgeous display and it looks stunning in every sense of the word. Also, a Mac Pro 1.1. Or 1,1, apologies. So that was a little glimpse at the 30-inch, but we're going to shut it down because in this video, even though I bought these together, I bought the 30-inch cinema display and the Mac Pro and a load of other random stuff that was in the same thing. We are only going to be taking a look at the Mac Pro in this video. The next video, or a couple of videos down the line, whenever I can make it, will be solely about the cinema display. Just the cinema display. So I'm going to take the display off my desk. It's a little bit too big to try and film. We're going to be talking about the Mac Pro, so it's going to be a little difficult to try and, you know, film and everything. It's just so massive, we just need to get it out of the way. So I'm going to use a smaller monitor and we are going to make the Mac Pro video, so bear with me 1 second. So before I say anything, I just want to say how weird it is to have a Mac Pro in my possession once again. It is kind of bizarre. I mean, I've had G5s on and off for years, but Mac Pros, I've only ever had the one, and that one was extremely special. My glorious Mac Pro 3,1 2008 that I owned for many years and bought for a lot of money when it was still a very relevant machine. Years and years ago now, even though it feels like just yesterday. Anyway, yeah. What's the story behind this one? If you can't be bothered to watch the vlog or you just don't want to or whatever, I completely don't mind. I'll give you a quick rundown right now. Basically, I've got a little habit of searching eBay. And one thing that I often do is I'll just put something really simple into the search bar, like Apple Mac, for instance. And I'll set distance to nearest first. I'm sure a load of you guys do this as well. And I just see what Macs are around and what Apple stuff in general, because you tend to get iPads and everything popping up when you type that sort of thing. Just to see what Apple stuff is lurking around you locally. I don't normally go past about 20 miles. Once I'm scrolling, 20 miles hits and bang. But I scrolled a little bit further and about 25 miles away I found this Mac Pro. Now, like I said in my vlog, I typically ignore Mac Pros, modern iMacs, you know, most Intel machines really. The reason I do it is because if a G3 or G4 or G5 tower or an old iBook or something pops up and it's local and it's collection only, then it's kind of guaranteed to go cheap and then I can pick it up locally. So with this Mac Pro, as I say, I typically ignore Mac Pros, but it came with the 30-inch cinema display. So that kind of piqued my interest because when I saw the auction it was on 30 quid. I did my bidding and I looked at the value of an original OG Mac Pro and a 30-inch cinema display, and I won these two for 122 quid. Now 122 quid is about the price of a 1,1 that's spec'd quite nicely. So this is not spec'd quite nicely, so this is probably worth about 80 or 90 quid now, which is crazy. When I was looking to buy my early 2008, 9 years ago now, yeah, 8-9 years ago, these 1,1s were just starting to come in at below £1,000. Just starting. You'd get low spec ones for 950 quid, like the quad 2 gigahertz low end ones. They were just starting to get cheap. The price of a 1,1 is one thing, but the price of a cinema display is an entirely different thing. A 30-inch cinema display with its power brick is worth in the region, in good condition, of between £300 and £400. And from the pictures, it looked in good condition. It is in good condition, so it's a steal. I've got between 400-500 quid's worth of kit here at the cost of £122, and there was a load of random stuff thrown in. So I'm chuffed to bits with it. So that's the backstory. Nothing sentimental, nothing to do with any kind of donations or friends or anything, just a complete random eBay sale and a local collection only. So let's talk condition then. From what I can see, it's looking in pretty good condition. It's just, yeah, there's no real marks, no real dings, just a little bit dusty as you would expect. There's no broken feet or anything like that, and if anything, it's got this plastic film over the feet. Not really sure about that, but if I peel it off, then it'll be in great condition underneath. So that's really good. That's, I think, on the whole foot, both ends. Front looks really great. Again, just a bit of dust, but all that will clean up really nicely. Everything looking kind of perfect. Drive doors looking perfect. And then at the back, nothing to report at the back either. Every PCI slot cover is there, and everything is looking really nice. So let's get to the real reason why we're here. Let's crack her open. Now, I did show this a little bit in my vlog because I got excited. Just leaving that against there. But I haven't delved into stuff very far. So let's have a look. Firstly, it's got the stock NVIDIA GeForce 7300 GT. Now, one thing that I find fascinating about the Mac Pro 1,1, and I even thought this back in the day, the stock configuration was absolutely horrendous for such a high-cost machine. Even back then, even for the config back then. 1 gig of RAM, a 7300 GT, 256 meg, and a single 250 gig hard drive. What a horrible, horrible combination of components. I've always thought that about the Mac Pro. You know, 2 gigs of RAM at least, and they could have given you something better than this lump of junk. It's an awful, awful video card. And actually, I am lucky enough to own 2 of them. Because, for some random reason, there was one of these loose in the bottom of the carrier bag that contained all of the cables for the machine. So, I have 2. I've got no idea why, but things are becoming clearer to me now. The people that I picked this up from, the eBay sellers, they'd been given the machine, and they kind of said a load of stuff and that. I didn't really understand where the machine had originally come from, but it's clearly been used to its potential somewhere, because there's a lot of drives in here. They've written stuff on these caddies, which we'll go over in a minute. There's some additional components hanging around, and on the plugs they've written 30-inch on the cinema display plug, and they've written Mac Pro on the other. So I assume that the 30-inch has been powered off of one card, and they had another cinema display that has possibly gone somewhere else, being powered off another card, and maybe that's why it was specified 30-inch. Or maybe I'm completely wrong. Maybe it broke. I mean, they had a tendency to break. They were replacing them all the time when the Mac Pros came out, and you can run 2 displays off of these, including 230s, I believe. So I don't know, maybe one of these is completely toast. But we will continue trying to guess what is going on. So as well as that, there was also loose 2 512 megabyte sticks of RAM and 2 gigabyte sticks of RAM, which is very, very strange. And in with the RAM was written, "Think this is broken," on a piece of paper. So no idea there, but there are plenty of available slots for the RAM, and that means that the machine would have a total of 8 gigs, which is a much nicer configuration. So, one thing I'm dying to do, let's push this back a little bit. We'll take a look at the RAM in a minute, and we'll bung all that RAM in and see if it powers up. I want to take a look at these drives, because the one I pulled out was a stock drive. It was a stock Apple drive. Let's take a look and see if they all are. If so, this was a BTO configuration from the Apple website. So, Apple drive. Not an Apple drive. Random Seagate drive with a load of stuff written all over it. Okay, interesting. Let's put that to one side. Now this is the one with the operating system on it. Okay, another random Seagate drive. And if I had to guess, this will be the stock 250 gig drive. So let's take a look. Yes, correct. So let's have a look and see what we've got going on here. I was wrong, folks. I was completely and utterly wrong. The 2 500 gig drives are the stock Apple drives. So this was configured with two 500 gig drives on the Apple website or whatever, so that's pretty sweet. Then it was upgraded further on down the line with two 250 gig Seagates. Now this one is intriguing because it had Vista on here. You can see partition 1 Vista 32, and then partition 2 Vista 64-bit. First boot, blah, blah, blah. So another thing that's really strange is all of these drive cages have been kind of muddled. So that's number 4. We'll slot that back in. 250 gig. This one is number 2. So it should be over here. Changing the order won't matter to the boot process, I don't think. It'd be interesting to see if Vista is still on there. So this one is number 1. I'm just kind of OCD about where the drive bays go. If it doesn't boot, it doesn't boot. We'll sort that out. And this one is number 3. So the original Apple drives are in 1 and 3. And the Seagate drives are in 2 and 4. And the OS X drive is there anyway. So yeah, we've just swapped these two, I believe. That was the only mix-up. So 1, 2, 3, 4. How many optical drives do we have in here? Let's have a little look. Can we persuade this flap to open? No, we can't. So let's just have a yank and have a look. Just a single optical drive. So that's cool. No additional optical drive. Let's take a look at the RAM scenario. So I had to put the camera down for a sec to dislodge those. Okay. Let's do this. And let's do this. So here's the stock RAM from Apple. So Apple memory module. So these are 1 gig each. That is of course giving the 2 gigs. So it was upgraded a little from the stock configuration. 2 500 gig drives and 2 gigs of memory. So nice little boost there. Yeah, so that was the Apple memory. Which one was the bottom riser card? I forgot to make a note of that. Does it matter? I'll watch the footage back. It may explain why they couldn't get that other memory working or whatever, because they need to be paired properly in order. So let's have a look. Okay, so this is the top riser, and it only has 2 sticks of 512 in it. So I believe this is all from memory. Biggest pair, second biggest pair, next pair, and next pair, I believe. So really, we should have our 2 2 gig sticks in there, our 2 1 gig sticks in there, 2 1 gig sticks, and our 2 512s. So let's make that swap right now and see if we can get it to boot with 8 gigs of RAM. So I'm 80% sure this is the correct, most optimized configuration for the memory, but please, if it's wrong, someone correct me. I will look it up online later on, but this is just from memory at the moment. So top riser card, first 2 slots, closest to the motherboard, your biggest pair. So we've got 2 2GB sticks, that's 4 gig. Then next riser card down, closest to the motherboard, our next 2 biggest sticks, 1 gig each. So that's 6 gig right there. I think I explained this wrong in the previous clip. And then the rest, 512 meg. So this is the next pair and the final pair. So it looks like what happened here was, and this is all speculation, this was the original RAM from Apple at 2 gig, very nice. Because obviously if this was spec'd at 1 gig, the default, then we'd have 2 512 Apple sticks in here, but we don't. They would never ship a Mac Pro with 1 stick, they came in pairs. So stock, 2 gig, very nice. Then someone down the line upgraded with another 2 gig, but the kit they bought had 4 512 meg sticks, so they were put in, and then the machine would of course have 4 gig, and then another 4 gig using 2 gigabyte sticks to give 8 gig. So yeah, 8 gigs total. It should boot like this. If all of the RAM is working, it should boot. Basically that bit of paper was probably written because it wouldn't boot because it was unhappy about where the RAM was. At least that's my guess. Let's hope it works, because that would be pretty sweet. If it's got 8 gigs of RAM, then that's of course more than was advertised, which is very nice. Oh man, I need to push those in with 2 hands off camera. Alright guys, moment of truth. Let's see if she boots with that RAM. Where's the bong? There was a bong when I booted it up last time. There's no bong this time. Hello? Anybody there? Wow! That RAM doesn't work then.
No! It does not like that.
So I've taken out all the 512 meg sticks. And it's still not happy. Wow. Okay. I'm pretty shocked in that. Well, this is about as much tinker time as I have right now. We will resume after I cook and eat dinner. So guys, it's a bit later and I've had some luck with the Mac Pro. I've been trying different combinations of memory and I'm now up to 4 gigabytes. So it seems like these Kingston DIMMs just will not work. But what I am going to do, for ultimate curiosity reasons, is I'm going to take every single DIMM out and just try and boot with the Kingston ones. Because, yeah, you know, it's likely it could be bad RAM. I'm not saying that it's not bad RAM, but it seems strange because this is clearly the newest kit that is here. I mean, age isn't everything, obviously, but it just seems weird to me that it won't work. And the fact that those other two 512 sticks that clearly do work were in the bottom of the bag. So, as you can see here, memory, 1 gig, that's the factory RAM, and then the 512 upgrades, the 2 gig kit. So, we'll shut this guy down. So right now we only have 1 stick of RAM in the machine, and that is 1 Kingston 2 gig stick. So it looks like this one is not a happy bunny. Meaning that in theory I could put all this other RAM back in, and put that guy in, and we'll just be 2 gig short. Obviously it's best to install in pairs, but yeah, I took all the drives out because I was doing a lot of restarts, so I didn't want to mess stuff up. I always feel very nervous when I interrupt drives constantly when they're spinning up and whatnot. So I thought it was best to just yank out the sleds that I didn't need. So yes, there we have it. 2 gigs of 667 megahertz DDR2. So what I'm going to try now is all of the other RAM back in with this RAM stick in as well. So 4 gig is the maximum we're getting, even though this stick works, or at least appears to work when booted with just 1 stick. It will not work with the rest. I assume because they're all in pairs and then that's just plonked on the end on its own. It's just fussy. There may be some kind of weird combination that I can get it to boot into, or boot with, sorry, but it's just not worth it because I don't need the RAM anyway. Extra 2 gig is going to make no difference, especially when it's not performing optimally. So I've put a tape on here. When I find a pen, I will put a little cross on there just to let me know that that is the suspected bad one. And I think these will probably be put in a drawer until the end of time, because I'm not exactly going to do anything with them unless I happen to find another 2 gig stick, and then I can put this guy and that other 2 gig in the other 2 slots in a pair. But in other news, I've connected the Mac via Ethernet, and I'm just going to have a little tinker around, just a little feel of the machine, see how things go. Wow, that's an old version of Safari. See how things are feeling, see how it's all going. Yeah, we've got access to the web. Cool. It has been a good few weeks since I last spoke about this Mac Pro, and it's a bit weird because I'm halfway through the video. But it's actually quite cool at the same time, because since I've been away, I've used this Mac Pro for quite a substantial project. So I've got 2 folders sitting on my desktop here. I've got 1 folder with 6 files. These are 6 separate VHS-C, the little small VHS cassettes, captured with Elgato video capture. I've got a standard definition Elgato capture card. It's actually quite sweet. I used to use the game capture in standard definition mode, but having the actual video capture device is so much easier. And it's crazy how much of this sort of work I was doing with not the right equipment. Obviously, if I was doing loads and loads of this, I'd get a nice high-end capture card, but the Elgato for me works absolutely fine. So I captured 6 tapes. Not all of them were completely full up. Not all of them were recorded to the end, but I believe 4 of them were, and then the last 2 were just sort of snippets. So I captured a good few hours of footage, and then I used Toast. I loaded a copy of Toast Titanium 10 on here, and I used Toast to create 12 DVDs using this Mac Pro and the optical drive that it came with. I didn't change anything about the machine, didn't swap out the optical drive, didn't do anything. I trusted it. I burnt the first DVD. I tested the DVD on my DVD player and on another machine, and it worked absolutely fine. And the customer is extremely happy with her DVDs. One thing I found while using the Mac Pro is it is beyond bulletproof. It is just a tank. Even running Mac OS X Lion, which is probably the worst version of OS X, all things considered. Obviously it's more feature packed than earlier versions, but if you just take reliability, Lion is nasty. But even running Lion, this is a sweet, stable machine, and it's fast. So while I was working, just in case, obviously because I didn't know the condition of the drives, I copied these 2 folders to this drive every now and again. So there's a duplicate on the machine itself, and I also have a clone of these on my Synology NAS, so that if anything happened to this machine, if it blew up and it wiped out all the drives, I didn't lose all of the recordings. So since then, the tapes have gone back, and the customer or the client, whatever, has actually requested a few more copies. So what I'll do, because she's already got several copies that have been a complete success using the Mac Pro, I will burn her copies using the Mac Pro once again. And it kind of got me thinking, for this sort of work, what I've been doing for years now is simply using my little Apple SuperDrive, which is over here. And you know, it's absolutely fine, but it's not exactly that robust. I just got that really robust feeling when using this Mac Pro. And for a short space of time, I had a moment of madness. I was like, hey, I could keep this Mac Pro up on the desk right here and use it as my video capture machine, which I would love. You know, a dedicated machine. I could put another DVD drive in here, get a really nice DVD burning machine set up, get a few little external hard drives for some backups and things, make it its own contained little thing. You know, that would be pretty sick. But to be perfectly honest, the amount of projects that I get involving video capture, I could count them on one hand in a year. You know, it's really rare. Basically, I don't have any kind of business or advertising revolving around video capture or VHS conversion or high 8 conversion. Basically, it's just word of mouth around the area. People know that I can do it, and then when something comes along, I get asked. It's a little bit like the laptop repairs and stuff I do. It just drives itself. You know, I don't have the time to do that sort of thing more. You know, I've already got enough money making schemes on the go. I really don't need to start advertising, making people's wedding videos and stuff. But it's something that I do find fun. As monotonous as it may sound to some people, creating a load of DVDs for someone and seeing how happy they are, making nice menus, you know, building it up, I really enjoy it. It's kind of weird, but I wouldn't like it every single day of my life. So because I was working on this Mac Pro, I sort of simplified things a bit, changed the wallpaper for something a bit nicer, and also, you know, simplified the dock. I made it a little bit my own, changed a few of the settings to settings that I'm more familiar with, especially my, you know, controversial but never gonna change use command to zoom. It's controlled by default, and since day one I've always changed it to command, and that's the way it's going to stay forever. All of my buddies will know that from using my machines. It's a complete pain in the ass if they want to zoom in, because on their machines it's always control. One thing that is nasty, and I don't know if I mentioned this in this video, I mentioned it in the vlog, the keyboard is absolutely disgusting. On the top, it actually looks really nice, but in the casing itself has got all of this sort of like brown crumbs. Really, really off-putting. I've been trying not to look at it. These keyboards are a complete ball ache to take apart and clean. I guess any keyboard is really, simply because of the amount of keys you end up with. But I should really, really clean this up at some point. So we tried all of the RAM earlier on in the video, and of course you guys know the outcome of that because you've just watched it. So we've ended up with a nice solid 4 GB of RAM. But one thing I want to do right now, and we're going to shut the machine down for this, I want to try the second GPU, because if we plug in that second GPU and it works, I know that I've got a working spare 7300 GT for the Mac Pro. As horrible as that video card is, it's nice to know what you've got spare. So let's take a look. Apologies for the angle, using my chair as a tripod. This is a very rushed little addition to this video, but I'm sure you guys would rather see this than absolutely nothing. This is kind of raw IMNC at its finest. Okay, so here's this lovely little bracket removed. And now, not forgetting to lift the latch, the removal of, ooh, whoops. Man, the machine's only been on for a short time, but that is warm. That gets pretty warm quite quickly. I tell you what, folks, I'm going to get the tripod because this is a Mac Pro video, it's worthy of it. Okay guys, that's as low as my tripod will go. So, we've got the old GPU, or the GPU that was just in it, and we're going to swap it for an identical GPU. And I think what we're going to then do, just for a laugh, is put the other one in the slot next to it, so that we're running dual crappy GPUs. And I have to say, even with all of my Mac Pro experience, my 5 or 6 years as a Mac Pro owner, whatever it was, 5 years I think, one thing I've never been able to do is run dual GPUs in a Mac Pro. So let's give it a whirl. That's excluding some little things I had to do tinkering wise when I sold my 2008 Mac Pro, because we had a few complications, if you guys remember. But as for daily usage, I never did get dual GPUs in the Mac Pro. Of course, on the Mac side, only really beneficial if you're running 2 monitors with no SLI or Crossfire support. These little slot covers are actually quite a pain with no screws holding them in. They're just quite sort of rolled. And to be perfectly honest, folks, if this GPU works, I see no reason for me to sell it with just one GPU. I may as well just include both, because it's only going to hang around here doing nothing. Could be a handy spare GPU, but I have to ask the question, when am I ever going to do anything with a Mac Pro 1,1? Sorry for the poor lighting, but here we have the bagged 7300 that I don't know if it works. That's in the primary slot, and then in the next slot up is the card that we know that works, the one that just came out of the bottom slot. And for those of you wondering, for those of you who don't know Mac Pros, the bottom slot is double width. So even though there's a PCI cover here, there is no slot. So if you've got a single slot card, like I've got a single slot here and here, you can't physically put anything in between them, because the bottom PCIe slot is reserved for a dual slot card. So the layout of the PCI slots in this machine, you can either put 2 dual height cards and a single, or 1 dual height and 3 singles, or of course all singles, but then you kind of lose a valuable space, so you may as well get a really beefy dual slot graphics card on the bottom. Kind of pointless information, but it is important to point out that this is one thing that was slightly improved over the Power Mac G5, the PCI slot layout. Alright guys, let's go for it. Power button, see what she does. Do you know, if this card doesn't work, I'm going to be really confused. And of course, I'm going to be confused about why broken components were kept as well. But, ooh, white screen. Let's have a look. Apple logo. So far so good. So far so good. If this works, then I think what we'll do just for fun is get this random 20-inch cinema display and plug it into the top card and see if both of them are running properly simultaneously, because there must have been a reason why this was taken out. I really don't know. Maybe it was a spare for another machine, maybe an office with a couple of different Mac Pros. I know this speculation could be annoying, but I do genuinely care about the history of machines like this. Oh, and by the way, folks, I've been continuing with the Clearing Out series, the Long Lost Tech Treasures series. Part 3 is nearly done, and one of the parts of that video is I brought back my chair from the studio. So now I've got my nice big comfy chair over there and a swivelly comfy chair over here, so that makes me very happy. Anyway, let's jump into the OS and I guess do some video playback or something to test whether this GPU is giving any noticeable problems, but right now it seems identical to the last one. What the heck is this? Guys, this is a mega treat. I have never ever seen this utility before. This is awesome. So the expansion slot utility has launched because the system has detected that the installed PCI Express cards have changed and at least one of the cards may not be running at maximum performance. We know that because we put the second GPU in the X8 slot. The system has configurable PCI Express lanes to allow performance tuning for different PCI Express card configurations. Note, typically graphics cards require X16 PCI Express lanes, however, they may also run at near maximum speed when using X8 PCI Express lanes. So, this is awesome. Let's take a little look at what we've got. Wow! This is cool. I did not know this. See, this is why I absolutely love tinkering with this stuff, because I have learned something awesome about the Mac Pro. I didn't know you could do this. I honestly did not know. I had a Mac Pro 2008 and I never saw this utility pop up. But maybe just because it never needed to. Awesome. So I've just had a little look over these graphs, and what baffles me is I would want as the configuration an X16 and then an X8. You know, let's just say for argument's sake you want an X16 as your primary graphics slot, then an X8. In theory, I could do that because then you'd have two X1s at the top. But, yeah, because this is 26 total, but there is no option for that, so the system can't do that. So the best option for us, well, it makes no difference. It could either be this option or this option. Don't show this utility again. Yeah, no, man, I want to show the utility. So, obviously, whoa, hang on. Was that a little bit of GPU weirdness? I don't think so. It could have just been mouse weirdness with the zooming, because I've been zoomed in a while. Okay, we'll keep an eye on this. So yeah, let's go for this one, because it's the most even. And it'll be, yeah, I really don't know what to say, actually. Kinda sucks the way the machine is laid out if you want to install 3 graphics cards. You would go for this one if you wanted to install 3 graphics cards, of course. We'll go for this one. Yeah. Save and restart. Obviously it needs a restart and an administrator password. But yeah, it shows that both GPUs are working, so I'm going to grab a power supply for the cinema display. So we are hooked up with dual displays on this machine. We've got the 20-inch Apple cinema display and one of my Dell U2412Ms. And you can see the two 7300 GTs. They are both here, and one is driving the Dell, one is driving the cinema, and they are both running at X8 speed. And there they both are. And here's another demonstration of how sucky the basic about this Mac report is. You can see here that it's specifying the Dell display and the Apple Cinema display, the resolution, the size of the display in the Cinema display's case. It says NVIDIA GeForce 7300 GT, 256 megabyte graphics. It says the same here. It does not specify that they're separate cards. So if I was to unplug the DVI for the Cinema display and plug it into the first card, obviously that would change this. It would list both displays under the one card, the one that's in slot 1, of course. There you go. They would both be listed under there. As it stands, only one monitor per card is listed. However, from this dialog, you would not be able to tell the difference if you were running one card or 2 cards. Just a little gripe there, because I kind of dislike the way that this report sucks so bad. But it's fine, because you can dive in here and see what everything is doing anyway. So, the GPU seems to be working. Let me just put it under a little bit of stress. Well guys, I just tried to run the Heaven benchmark. I thought Heaven on this monitor, 1080p video on the other, coming from YouTube's quite a bit of a strain on these awful little cards. And it wouldn't run. And then I looked at the hardware requirements, realising that the 7000 series card is pretty damn old. And it requires a GeForce 8000 series or newer to run Heaven. So ATI wise, you're looking at a 4000 series, so the 3000 series won't cover it. So your 3870 that does have a Mac Pro version actually will not run Heaven. HD 3000 and higher, GeForce 8000 series, and it needs video memory 512. So yeah, quite interesting that. And of course, yeah, it needs Mountain Lion. I didn't think that would matter too much. But it turns out that I don't need to run Heaven to run into some graphical errors. I basically wanted to heat the GPUs up as much as possible and see if we could kill them a little bit under some strain. But it looks like that is already happening. So we've got some weirdness happening here with this Chrome window. It does it on both. So it's at the moment, because I had no problem with Chrome before I installed the secondary video card, I am suspect that it's a video card glitch. But at the same time, I don't really know how a glitch would pan out on both displays, considering they're powered by different cards. But then again, your system can do all sorts of weird crud if the GPU is on its way out. So suspect the secondary GPU that we put in is actually dead or dying. The video is in full screen. As long as you don't move the mouse, it plays pretty fine, apart from some weird interface issues, but the video itself plays fine. But you know, playing back video is not exactly a scientific test of whether a GPU is dead or not. I'm going to see if I can get some other kind of video benchmark to test these guys out. So we're going to run the 3 graphics related options in Xbench. It's the only other thing I could really think of at short notice for hardware this old. Universal binary works on Panther and up. Handy in my PowerPC stuff. So let's take a look. Looks like a beast of a card chewing through this lot, compared to how I'd usually see the performance graphically. Last system I run this on was my G3, so this gets a score of 127.9. Can't remember what my G3 got, but it was not this much with its little 9200. So yeah, that did its thing. This interface still flashing away. I mean, could be Chrome, I guess. Could well be Chrome, but it wasn't doing it before. Where's Safari? Guys, I always hated the way Lion did full screen. So check this out. It's not too bad in Chrome. You get full screen there. You can still use this screen. But check out full screen YouTube on Safari. This is nasty. Check this out. So you go full screen. Your second window, your second display, sorry, is this horrible pattern that running Lion you saw all too often. So yeah, there's one vid running like crap in the old version of Safari here. You can't run them both at the same time, I don't think. Not with one running in Safari anyway. No. Great. Yeah, full screen is just so rubbish. Did they improve it again with Mavericks, I believe? It was nasty in Mountain Lion as well. Suspect on that GPU, but we're not calling it 100% certain at the moment. Just because it's a bit flickery, a bit flashy, but that could be all manner of different things. We've got 2 different resolutions running, different applications. It could be anything really. 2 different cards, 2 different resolutions, 2 different monitors. Yeah, and not tons and tons of weirdness with the graphics. No crazy blockiness or artifacts or anything like that. So yeah, that was a nice little bit of experimentation. What I'm going to do is remove the graphics card, put it back to how it was, because as I say, this lady requires more DVDs, and this machine was stable as hell until I started experimenting with it in this video. So I blame my YouTube channel for any possible faults with those DVDs, but no, they'll be absolutely fine. So we're going to shut this machine down. And basically, I've been thinking about this video. We've had some crazy stuff happen. That's why things have slowed down a little on the channel. So I do apologise. I've been thinking about this video for a little while and what I could really do with it. And there's not a great deal I can do with the Mac Pro, to be honest, to show you guys. So my massive apologies if this video has been a little dull, but the silver lining is, now that we've got the Mac Pro out of the way, we can take a look at the glorious 30-inch cinema display that is sat underneath my desk gathering dust at the moment, but I really, really want to get it up onto the desk, and we're not just going to fiddle with it over there. I'm going to bring it onto my main setup and see what it's like using the 30-inch cinema display, because that as a product is a pretty big deal to me. It's just crazy awesome. I love it. So let's see what it can do in the next video. Might not be the next video, maybe I'll get Tech Treasures Part 3 out before then, but I hope you've enjoyed this random look at the Mac Pro. Really sorry I couldn't show you more. I could run games and run some more software and things, but guys, it's a Mac Pro 1.1. You know exactly what it can and can't do, especially in its stock config with the 7300 GT. A nasty little card. Not too bad, you know, down there in Lion, but yeah, all the same. And to be fair, it's been super stable for me. I'm just talking, you know, compared to other cards that are available for the machine. And with the reliability rate of it back in the day, it's not Apple's worst track record, but pretty bad, you know. Fanless GPU, big metal case, yeah, you know, whatever. Hope you've enjoyed, as I say, and apologies for the delay once again. I will see you guys in the next video.